deserves a position there, a role there.
Prime Minister Modi during Operation Sindoor made it amply clear that war has never been India's choice. We are with the side of peace. We are neither neutral nor indifferent. We are with peace.
We would have dealt with the U.S. a whole lot on trade and those kinds of things, and that's not as certain these days. So we have to go back and look at our European partners, our Asian partners.
An opportunity to exchange, to have a dialogue, to have a debate on a different perspective on finding the solution of the conflict.
First thing that is important to have a common ground, and that we do have with humanitarian laws and human rights, but also to say, okay, what does it mean for us as a country to act on these laws and how can we work together?
When we realize that there's something wrong with democracy, the institutions and policies, values come together and we take stock, and it's possible then to improve and chart a new course for democracy.
Hello and welcome, I'm Kriti Mehta and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines this hour. Russian President Vladimir Putin lands in New Delhi for his two-day visit to India starting today. Putin and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will attend an annual summit held by both the countries. Following the Moscow meeting on the Ukraine peace plan, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has announced plans for new talks between the Ukrainian delegation and Trump's team very soon. After US envoy Steve Witkoff's meeting with the Russian President Vladimir Putin on the peace plan to end the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, US President has said that the talks were reasonably good while further emphasizing on his push for peace. French President Emmanuel Macron is in China for high-stakes talks with the Chinese president. While speaking on the meeting, Macron says the two countries must overcome their differences. Hamas has returned the body of another deceased hostage as part of the Gaza peace plan. Israel has confirmed the identity of the deceased as Sotisak and Rintalak, agricultural worker. With this, now body of only one hostage remains with Hamas. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres has slammed Israel in his fresh comments on the Gaza war. He has said that there was something fundamentally wrong with how Israel conducted its military operation in Gaza Strip. China urges the United States to stop official exchanges with Taiwan. China has firmly opposed to any form of official exchanges between the US and Taiwan and urged the US to stop official exchanges with Taiwan and refrain from sending any signals towards Taiwan independence. Rwanda's foreign minister says a new accord with the US and the DRC could help advance peace efforts, even as Rwandan-backed M23 rebels and the Congolese army accuse each other of breaching the ceasefire in eastern Congo. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that European Union leaders are preparing a new sanctions package against Russia, and he emphasized that it must focus on tightening pressure on Moscow's energy sector. Speaking after meeting Cypriot President Nikos in Kyiv, Zelensky noted that the measures should target everything that fuels Russia's budget and enables it to continue the war. He also expects Cyprus to support common European decisions on frozen Russian assets, as Cyprus will hold the rotating presidency of the Council of the European Union from January 1, 2026 to June 30, 2026. Let's listen to what President Zelensky said.
Зараз готують лідери Європейського Союзу новий санкційний пакет. Ми хочемо зробити його справді дієвим, а це означає продовження тиску на російський енергетичний сектор передусім, на все те інше, що дає Росії бюджетні надходження, а отже можливість затягувати цю війну. Ми розраховуємо на підтримку Кіпром спільних європейських рішень щодо російських активів. Це абсолютно справедливий принцип, що Росія повинна платити за війну, яку сама ж почала та яку продовжує. Кошти, які потрібні для оборони та для відновлення після російських ударів, цілком справедливо взяти з тих обсягів, які сам агресор залишив в руках вільного світу.
And let's welcome Alison Mutler, who is the former AP Bureau Chief in Romania, joins us live from Bucharest. Thank you, Alison, for joining us once again here at NewsX World, and we do appreciate you taking time out to speak to us. Alison, Zelensky's comments are coming, to target Russia's energy sector. In fact, European Union is almost finalizing a deal on phasing out Russian gas imports as well. And this is crucial here because Putin is right now in India, which happens to be a key importer of Russian oil and gas. Where does this leave Russia in the entire geopolitical scenario amidst all these contexts?
Well, obviously, Vladimir Putin, Russia is reaching out to all the markets he can get, and India is a very big market. But Europe, which has been the strongest critic of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, has still been quite dependent on Russian, particularly Russian fossil fuels. So this new act is very important. It currently gets 19% of its fuel from Russia, but that is going to be phased out until 2027. There's still Europe is still pretty dependent, but it's phasing that out gradually and weaning itself off Russian gas. It's a political, but it's also an economic move to stop. One of the key ways that Russia is paying for its hostilities in Ukraine, but it's also a political step to show that Europe wants to break away from dependency on Russian gas and other fuels.
Alison, do stay on. There are some more inputs we're getting. Viewers, the United Kingdom has unveiled sweeping new sanctions against Russia moments after Security Minister Dan Harris addressed Parliament on the findings of the public inquiry into the 2018 Novichok poisoning. Now, Harris said the inquiry makes clear that President Putin bears moral responsibility for the attack that killed British citizen Don Sturgess. Let's listen in to what the UK Security Minister had to say.
The inquiry has found that those who were involved in the assassination attempt against Sergei Skripal were morally responsible for Dawn's death, and that deploying a highly toxic nerve agent in a busy city was an astonishingly reckless act. The Chair concludes that the operation must have been signed off at the highest level of the Russian state, including President Putin. Dawn Sturgess was the victim of an utterly reckless and dangerous act, a chemical weapons attack perpetrated by Russia on British soil. The pain and suffering it has caused can never be underdone. But we must honour Dawn Sturgess's memory, uphold truth and justice, and keep everyone in our country safe.
In response, the government has sanctioned the entire GRU military intelligence service, 8 cyber officers and 3 additional GRU operatives accused of hostile activity across Europe and Ukraine. The Russian ambassador has also been summoned to the Foreign Office to account for what the UK calls Moscow's ongoing campaign of aggression. Prime Minister Keir Starmer says the findings highlight the Kremlin's disregard for innocent lives. And I'd request Alison to join us back in the discussion here. Alison, how do you view the developments, first of all?
Well, first of all, this attack in 2018, which is 4 years before Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, did send shockwaves through Britain, that this innocent woman who was in quite a vulnerable position, she'd been given some perfume, I think, by her boyfriend that he'd found in a garbage bin, and it contained Novichok, and she died. It was absolutely shocking, particularly when that was aimed at a Russian agent that had fallen foul of the Kremlin, of Vladimir Putin, and the fact that it took place, as it was the comment said, on British soil, I think outraged people even further. But the British government, the British authorities, have undertaken a painstaking inquiry. It's taken 2008, that's taken 8 years or 7 years to be concluded. And so it's been concluded without a shadow of a doubt that such an operation carried out by GRU, that is the Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, on British soil was done deliberately and was done brazenly and was done to show that Russia can do this. And as a result, also because of what's happening in Ukraine, that the full sanctions have been laid on GRU and its agents, and they've actually identified them. I mean, even at the time there was CCTV footage of the two men. I remember walking through London and Salisbury where it happened. But there was a great deal of outrage at the time that Russia would undertake such a brazen act, and that was before the invasion of Ukraine. So relations weren't great, but they weren't as bad as they are now.
Right, Alison, I'll have to let you go with that. We have some pressing developments now also coming in from Brazil, but thanks for your comment there. Viewers, Israel has launched a new wave of airstrikes on southern Lebanon, targeting what it says are Hezbollah positions. The strikes come just 1 day after Lebanese and Israeli civilian representatives held their first direct talks in decades. Despite a ceasefire in 2024 that meant to end more than a year of hostilities, Israel has continued operations in the region and has kept troops stationed in several strategic areas of southern Lebanon. The brief pause in airstrikes during the visit of Pope Leo XIV earlier this week has now ended. The Israeli military announced it began hitting what it called Hezbollah terror targets in multiple towns, including Maharuna, Jabba, Mahadal and Barashit. Israel had issued advance warnings before the strikes. Lebanese officials warned the escalation raises fear of a broader military confrontation as Hezbollah refuses to disarm despite government commitments. And we would now request Peter Baum, editor of the Weekly Blitz, to join us in this discussion here. Thank you, Peter, for joining us. Now, it's crucial here that the incident and the strikes and the attacks are happening just after.
Hello and welcome viewers, I am Pia and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi are about to address the media after their bilateral meeting at the Hyderabad House in New Delhi. You can see live visuals on your screens of just before the press conference is slated to take place. These are visuals coming in from Hyderabad House at the moment. This press statement is about to be delivered very, very shortly by the Russian President and the Indian Prime Minister. Remember, earlier in the day, we'd seen the Russian President pay his tributes to Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat, and even before that, he was accorded a ceremonial welcome, a tri-service ceremonial welcome at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Where he was, of course, greeted by President Draupadi Murmu as well. There was a 21-gun salute with the national anthems of Russia and India playing. In the meantime, this is, of course, the 23rd India-Russia Annual Summit. And the key focus has not just been on the fact that the bonds between the two countries are long-lasting and time-tested, but also what does the future hold? There's been a lot of discussion with regards to furthering cooperation in the defense sector, the civil nuclear sector as well, and augmenting trade from the current $68 billion to $100 billion by 2030. One of the key issues that India is focusing on is to offset the deficit that we have as far as trade with Russia is concerned. We've earlier seen statements by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin as well. The Indian Prime Minister had in fact recalled his 2001 visit to Russia. All those years ago, when he was a part of a delegation that was led by then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and it's from that very moment that the bonhomie between the two leaders shaped up to what it is today. We of course saw that with Narendra Modi welcoming Vladimir Putin yesterday at the tarmac at Palam Airport, sharing a warm hug, as well as riding the same car to 7 Lok Kalyan Marg, where dinner was hosted. Apart from this, the war between Russia and Ukraine also cropped up. Prime Minister Modi has appreciated the fact that Russia has been very open in sharing details with India time and again, and has emphasized that India is on the side of peace. And even in conversations with other global leaders, the Indian Prime Minister has emphasized that India is not neutral and stands for peace. Meanwhile, Vladimir Putin has highlighted that ties are rooted in history. It's not only words that matter, but substance as well. He's further stated that both countries plan to move forward in a range of areas, which underscores the level of trust in the bilateral relationship. He highlighted artificial intelligence, the aircraft sector, high-tech, military technical cooperation and space cooperation as well. We do know that there's a lot of talk going on as far as the civil nuclear sector is concerned too. I'm pointing this out because just yesterday there was a tranche of nuclear fuel that was transported by Russia's state agency Rosatom to the Kundankulam nuclear plant, the phase 2. There's supposed to be a total of 6 reactors at the Kundankulam nuclear plant. This is, of course, a joint project between Russia and India for civil nuclear energy. So, of course, India is also concerned with the procurement of small modular nuclear reactors as well. So, this is the latest as far as the statements of the leaders are concerned, what we can expect. There has been a lot of murmurs that about 25 agreements can be expected, MOUs can be expected, and of course I was mentioning the civil nuclear sector. On that note, we did see last time around when Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi had visited Moscow, back then he was invited to the headquarters of Russia's nuclear state agency, that is the Rosatom, and this time around we've also seen the Rosatom chief be a part of President Putin's delegation as well. But now what we are awaiting is the joint address by the two leaders that is slated to commence very, very shortly. Up until now, as I stated earlier, the Ukraine war has been a focal point as well. India emphasizing that it is not neutral and it's on the side of peace, of course, in line with Prime Minister Modi's direct message to President Putin earlier as well, that this is not an era of war. Speaking of Prime Minister Modi's message earlier, before President Putin touched down, Dmitry Peskov, the spokesperson of Kremlin, had in fact emphasized that Russia does appreciate India's stance and appreciates the candid conversations that Narendra Modi has been having as far as this particular war is concerned. We do know that there is an effort by the United States of America to broker peace. There are talks that are taking place on the side, which makes the timing of this particular visit very interesting, because right before President Putin embarked for India, he had held a 5-hour-long discussion with Donald Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, in Moscow. Also present was Trump's advisor and son-in-law, Jared Kushner. There, of course, we are awaiting the leaders to come in very, very shortly. But as far as these discussions are concerned, there does seem to be some major sticking points in the peace negotiations as far as the war is concerned. Whether it is NATO-style security guarantees that Europe has been demanding for Ukraine, whether it's the territorial concessions that Russia has been demanding on behalf of Ukraine as well. So there are certain points that the two countries, the US and Russia, are not seeing eye to eye at the moment, but Russia has described the peace negotiations as a first step towards ensuring that further talks are taking place and that the long-drawn process and a path towards peace is paved as well. Speaking of the plan itself, the original draft that had leaked, that was about 28 points long. President Putin has revealed that the amended draft that was received by the Kremlin during his meeting with Steve Witkoff, that was a mere 27 points. So there was 1 point that was cut off. But what can we expect from this particular bilateral meeting, which we know the world's eyes are trained upon? And what are the big ticket items apart from just defense deals? Because there's a lot being spoken about the S-400s, the S-500s as well, and the Su-57. But we've seen the nature of warfare change, especially in the Ukraine-Russia war itself, with hybrid modes of warfare, drones being increasingly used in the aftermath of Operation Sindoor as well. We've seen Turkish drones being used by the Pakistanis. So we've seen the nature of warfare change, and whether India would take this deal or not, because at the same time the US under Donald Trump has offered F-35s as well. But at the same time, the US has slapped steep sanctions against India, 50% on the import of Russian oil. India has in fact stated that it would be diversifying its energy imports. It will be importing from the United States coming this December. So how the statistics change as far as the energy sector is concerned remains to be seen, but it does seem that both Russia and India are looking at taking this partnership forward. And speaking of the sanctions, to Russian state oil producers, the Lukoil and Rosneft have also in fact been sanctioned. So in light of all of this, the conversation that has taken place at Hyderabad House is very, very crucial. What comes out of this, of course, will be revealed very, very shortly. There will be an exchange of memorandums of understandings and the press statements by these two leaders. Of course, a very warm welcome was given by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to President Putin yesterday itself. We've seen the Prime Minister in a very rare gesture, breaking protocol, having gone to Palam Airport in the evening at 7:15. He received President Putin. There was a warm handshake, a warm hug. Both leaders had then they then boarded the same car, they rode the same car, and then of course very reminiscent of what transpired at the SCO summit in Tianjin in September. Of course, that is another picture that did crop up in everyone's minds with this particular car ride as well. Many people have been calling it Carpool 2.0. How exactly is this to go down in Washington remains to be seen. How would the Americans react to the announcements that are going to be made very, very shortly remains to be seen. But speaking of the Americans, there was also a delegation by Lockheed Martin, the American defense manufacturers, that held a meeting yesterday, incidentally, with India's Union Minister of Commerce, Piyush Goyal. So interesting developments coming in as far as this particular summit. And there you have it, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Russian President Vladimir Putin. They've both arrived. The comments are going to begin very, very shortly. Let's in fact dip in live.
Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I welcome you all to this ceremony where we shall witness exchange of several MOUs and agreements and a few announcements that reflect the wide-ranging, multifaceted bilateral cooperation under the framework of the India-Russia Special and Privileged Strategic Partnership. We will begin with exchange of two documents, namely the agreement between the Government of the Republic of India and the Government of the Russian Federation on cooperation in migration, and the agreement between the Government of the Republic of India and the Government of the Russian Federation on temporary labor activity of citizens of one state in the territory of the other state. These documents will be exchanged by Mr. Vladimir Kolokoltsev, Minister of Internal Affairs of the Russian Federation, and Dr. S. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister of India. The next two documents include the agreement between the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of the Republic of India and the Ministry of Health of the Russian Federation on the cooperation in the field of healthcare, medical education, and science, as well as the agreement between the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India of the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare of Republic of India and the Federal Service for Surveillance on Consumer Rights Protection and Human Well-being of the Russian Federation in the field of food safety cooperation. These two agreements will be exchanged by Mr. Mikhail Albertovich Murashko, Minister of Health of the Russian Federation, and Dr. S. Jaishankar, External Affairs Minister of India. We next have two memorandums of understandings. These include the MOU between the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways of the Republic of India and the Ministry of Transport of the Russian Federation on the training of specialists for ships operating in polar waters, and the MOU between the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways of the Republic of India and the Maritime Board of the Russian Federation. These documents will be exchanged by Mr. Andrei Sergeyevich Nikitin, Minister of Transport of the Russian Federation, and Sri Sarvananda Sonoval, Minister of Ports, Shipping and Waterways of India. We now have the exchange of MOU between Messrs. JSC Ural Chem and Messrs. Rashtriya Chemicals and Fertilizers Limited and National Fertilizers Limited and Indian Potash Limited. This document will be exchanged by His Excellency Denis Alipov, Ambassador of the Russian Federation to India, and Sri Vinay Kumar, Ambassador of India to the Russian Federation. The last two documents include the protocol between the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs of the Government of the Republic of India and the Federal Customs Service of the Russian Federation for cooperation in exchange of pre-arrival information in respect of goods and vehicles moved between the Republic of India and the Russian Federation, and the bilateral agreement between the Department of Posts, Ministry of Communications of the Republic of India, and GSC, the Russian Post. These documents will be exchanged by His Excellency Denis Alipov, Ambassador of the Russian Federation to India, and Sri Vinay Kumar, Ambassador of India to the Russian Federation. I would like to additionally inform everyone that the two leaders have also adopted a joint statement which would be issued shortly. Both sides have also adopted the program for the development of strategic areas of India-Russia economic cooperation till 2030. And we also welcome the Russian side's decision to adopt the framework agreement to join the International Big Cat Alliance. Ladies and gentlemen, I now request the spokesperson of the Ministry of External Affairs to conduct the rest of the proceedings.
Namaskar, good afternoon, Your Excellency, Mr. Vladimir Putin, President of the Russian Federation, Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, Honorable Ministers, members of both delegations, distinguished guests, and friends from the media. We will now have the press statements. May I request Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, to give his remarks to the media.
Your Excellency, my friend, Rashtrapati Putin, दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स, मीडिया के साथियों, नमस्कार, दोबरी दिन। आज भारत और रूस के 23वें शिखर सम्मेलन में राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का स्वागत करते हुए मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है। उनकी यात्रा ऐसे समय हो रही है जब हमारे द्विपक्षीय संबंध कई ऐतिहासिक माइलस्टोन के दौर से गुजर रहे हैं। ठीक 25 वर्ष पहले राष्ट्रपति पुतिन ने हमारी स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की नींव रखी थी। 15 वर्ष पहले 2010 में हमारी साझेदारी को स्पेशल एंड प्रिविलेज स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप का दर्जा मिला। पिछले 2.5 दशक से उन्होंने अपने नेतृत्व और दूरदृष्टि से इन संबंधों को निरंतर सींचा है। हर परिस्थिति में उनके नेतृत्व ने आपसी संबंधों को नई ऊंचाई दी है। भारत के प्रति इस गहरी मित्रता और अटूट प्रतिबद्धता के लिए मैं राष्ट्रपति पुतिन का, मेरे मित्र का हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। फ्रेंड्स, पिछले 8 दशकों में विश्व में अनेक उतार चढ़ाव आए हैं। मानवता को अनेक चुनौतियों और संकटों से गुजरना पड़ा है और इन सब के बीच भी भारत रूस मित्रता एक ध्रुव तारे की तरह बनी रही है। परस्पर सम्मान और गहरे विश्वास पर टिके ये संबंध समय की हर कसौटी पर हमेशा खरे उतरे हैं। आज हमने इस नींव को और मजबूत करने के लिए सहयोग के सभी पहलुओं पर चर्चा की। आर्थिक सहयोग को नई ऊंचाइयों पर ले जाना हमारी साझी प्राथमिकता है। इसे साकार करने के लिए आज हमने 2030 तक के लिए एक इकोनॉमिक कोऑपरेशन प्रोग्राम पर सहमति बनाई है। इससे हमारा व्यापार और निवेश डाइवर्सिफाइड, बैलेंस और सस्टेनेबल बनेगा और सहयोग के क्षेत्रों में नए आयाम भी जुड़ेंगे। आज राष्ट्रपति पुतिन और मुझे इंडिया रशिया बिजनेस फोरम में शामिल होने का अवसर मिलेगा। मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि ये मंच हमारे बिजनेस संबंधों को नई ताकत देगा। इससे एक्सपोर्ट, को प्रोडक्शन और को इनोवेशन के नए दरवाजे भी खुलेंगे। दोनों पक्ष यूरेशियन इकोनॉमिक यूनियन के साथ एफटीए के शीघ्र समापन के लिए प्रयास कर रहे हैं। कृषि और फर्टिलाइजर के क्षेत्र में हमारा करीबी सहयोग फूड सिक्योरिटी और किसान कल्याण के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है। मुझे खुशी है कि इसे आगे बढ़ाते हुए अब दोनों पक्ष साथ मिलकर यूरिया उत्पादन के प्रयास कर रहे हैं। फ्रेंड्स, दोनों देशों के बीच कनेक्टिविटी बढ़ाना हमारी मुख्य प्राथमिकता है। हम INSTC, नॉर्दर्न सी रूट, चेन्नई व्लादिवोस्टोक कॉरिडोर पर नई ऊर्जा के साथ आगे बढ़ेंगे। मुझे खुशी है कि अब हम भारत के सी फेरर्स की पोलर वाटर्स में ट्रेनिंग के लिए सहयोग करेंगे। यह आर्कटिक में हमारे सहयोग को नई ताकत तो देगा ही, साथ ही इससे भारत के युवाओं के लिए रोजगार के नए अवसर बनेंगे। उसी प्रकार से शिप बिल्डिंग में हमारा गहरा सहयोग मेक इन इंडिया को सशक्त बनाने का सामर्थ्य रखता है। यह हमारे विन विन सहयोग का एक और उत्तम उदाहरण है, जिससे जॉब्स, स्किल्स और रीजनल कनेक्टिविटी सभी को बल मिलेगा। ऊर्जा सुरक्षा भारत रूस साझेदारी का मजबूत और महत्वपूर्ण स्तंभ रहा है। सिविल न्यूक्लियर एनर्जी के क्षेत्र में हमारा दशकों पुराना सहयोग क्लीन एनर्जी की हमारी साझा प्राथमिकताओं को सार्थक बनाने में महत्वपूर्ण रहा है। हम इस विन विन सहयोग को जारी रखेंगे। क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स में हमारा सहयोग पूरे विश्व में सिक्योर और डाइवर्सिफाइड सप्लाई चेन सुनिश्चित करने के लिए महत्वपूर्ण है। इससे क्लीन एनर्जी, हाईटेक मैन्युफैक्चरिंग और न्यू एज इंडस्ट्रीज में हमारी साझेदारी को ठोस समर्थन मिलेगा। फ्रेंड्स, भारत और रूस के संबंधों में हमारे सांस्कृतिक सहयोग और पीपल टू पीपल टाइज का विशेष महत्व रहा है। दशकों से दोनों देशों के लोगों में एक दूसरे के प्रति स्नेह, सम्मान और आत्मीयता का भाव रहा है। इन संबंधों को और मजबूत करने के लिए हमने कई नए कदम उठाए हैं। हाल ही में रूस में भारत के 2 नए कॉन्सुलेट्स खोले गए हैं। इससे दोनों देशों के नागरिकों के बीच संपर्क और सुगम होगा और आपसी नजदीकियां बढ़ेगी। इस वर्ष अक्टूबर में लाखों श्रद्धालुओं को काल्मिकिया में इंटरनेशनल बुद्धिस्ट फोरम में भगवान बुद्ध के पवित्र अवशेषों का आशीर्वाद मिला। मुझे खुशी है कि शीघ्र ही हम रूसी नागरिकों के लिए निःशुल्क 30 डे ई टूरिस्ट वीजा और 30 डे ग्रुप टूरिस्ट वीजा की शुरुआत करने जा रहे हैं। मैन पावर मोबिलिटी हमारे लोगों को जोड़ने के साथ साथ दोनों देशों के लिए नई ताकत और नए अवसर क्रिएट करेगी। मुझे खुशी है कि इससे बढ़ावा देने के लिए आज 2 समझौते किए गए हैं। हम मिलकर वोकेशनल एजुकेशन, स्किलिंग और ट्रेनिंग पर भी काम करेंगे। हम दोनों देशों के स्टूडेंट्स, स्कॉलर्स और खिलाड़ियों का आदान प्रदान भी बढ़ाएंगे। फ्रेंड्स, आज हमने क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर भी चर्चा की। यूक्रेन के संबंध में भारत ने शुरुआत से शांति का पक्ष रखा है। हम इस विषय के शांतिपूर्ण और स्थायी समाधान के लिए किए जा रहे सभी प्रयासों का स्वागत करते हैं। भारत सदैव अपना योगदान देने के लिए तैयार रहा है और आगे भी रहेगा। आतंकवाद के विरुद्ध लड़ाई में भारत और रूस ने लंबे समय से कंधा मिलाकर सहयोग किया है। पहलगाम में हुआ आतंकी हमला हो या क्रोकस सिटी हॉल पर किया गया कायरतापूर्ण आघात, इन सभी घटनाओं की जड़ एक ही है। भारत का अटल विश्वास है कि आतंकवाद मानवता के मूल्यों पर सीधा प्रहार है और इसके विरुद्ध वैश्विक एकता ही हमारी सबसे बड़ी ताकत है। भारत और रूस के बीच यूएन, G20, ब्रिक्स, एससीओ तथा अन्य मंचों पर करीबी सहयोग रहा है। करीबी तालमेल के साथ आगे बढ़ते हुए हम इन सभी मंचों पर अपना संवाद और सहयोग जारी रखेंगे। एक्सेलेंसी, मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि आने वाले समय में हमारी मित्रता हमें ग्लोबल चैलेंजेस का सामना करने की शक्ति देगी और यही भरोसा हमारे साझा भविष्य को और समृद्ध करेगा। मैं एक बार फिर आपको और आपके पूरे डेलीगेशन को भारत यात्रा के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देता हूं। स्पासिबा।
Thank you, sir. May I now request His Excellency, Mr. Vladimir Putin, President of the Russian Federation, to give his remarks to the media.
Уважаемый господин Distinguished Prime Minister, dear friend, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I would like to sincerely thank the President of the Republic of India, Draupadi Murmu, you personally, distinguished Prime Minister, and all our Indian colleagues for the warm and hospitable welcome accorded to the Russian delegation. The negotiations that we've just had with the Indian colleagues, and as well as our talk yesterday with distinguished Mr. Modi in the form of tete-a-tete at his residence, the dinner was great. I would like to thank you for this sign of attention. These talks were very useful. They were held in a constructive and a friendly atmosphere in the spirit of the special and privileged partnership between Russia and India. I would like to point out that we and Prime Minister Modi have established a close working dialogue. In September this year, we met during the SEO summit in Tianjin. We are regularly having telephone calls. We are personally overseeing some aspects of the development of Russian-Indian cooperation, all the strategic avenues, and also we are monitoring the course of the implementation of key bilateral projects. And today, with the participation of our delegations, we have meticulously and substantively reviewed the whole range of relevant questions of the Russian-Indian multifaceted interaction. We exchange our opinions on the relevant global and regional subjects. In the joint statement that we've adopted with Mr. Modi, we've delineated the priority objectives on the further reinforcements of our ties in the politics and security, economy, trade, and humanitarian and cultural spheres. As you saw for yourself, we have signed an impressive package of intergovernmental, interagency, and corporate agreements. Many of those agreements are intended to broaden the economic cooperation between Russia and India. And this is entirely natural, due to the fact that our countries are important partners of one another in trade, investment, and technologies. Last year, our bilateral trade turnover has grown by 12%, setting another record. According to different data, this number may look different, but it is generally around $64 billion US. Currently, we are forecasting that the results of this year will remain at the same impressive level. At the same time, as I perceive it, we are up to the task of getting this number to the level of $100 billion. And to reach this important goal, we have harmonized the program of development of Russian-Indian economic cooperation until 2030. This comprehensive document gives us a concrete set of objectives. The Intergovernmental Commission, the ministries and different agencies of the economic bloc of both countries have set objectives to remove barriers hampering the goods flows and capitals, the implementation of joint projects and deep technology and innovation cooperation. And distinguished Prime Minister gave us a whole list of challenges that deserve the most attentive focus of our government. We will do that. The growth of Russian-Indian commercial links would be helped by the creation of a free trade zone between India and the Eurasian Economic Union. We are already conducting work on the corresponding agreement. I would like to note with satisfaction that our countries are gradually moving to the use of national currencies in mutual settlements. The share of these national currencies is already 96% in commercial deals. We have established resilient channels of credit, financial, and interbanking cooperation. Russian economic operators have broadened the sphere of use of Indian rupees, which we receive from the fulfillment of export contracts. Russian rubles are being used to provide loans for large joint projects. We are also seeing successful partnership in energy. Russia is a reliable supplier of oil, gas, coal, and everything that is required for the development of India's energy. We are ready to continue uninterrupted shipments of fuel for the fast-growing Indian economy. Of course, the bilateral interaction in energy does not limit to that. We are also conducting a flagship project to build the largest Indian nuclear power plant, Kudankulam. 2 out of 6 reactor units have been already connected to the energy network, and 4 are still under construction. Getting this nuclear power plant to full power output will give an impressive contribution to the energy requirements of India. It will help supply Indian enterprises and houses with cheap and clean energy. We presume that we could talk about the construction of small modular reactors and floating nuclear power plants, and also non-energy application of nuclear technologies, for example in medicine or agriculture. We are working with our Indian partners to build new, effective international transport logistic routes, including the projects to create an international north-south transport corridor from Russia and Belarus to the Indian Ocean coast. There are large opportunities for bilateral trade due to the broadening of the Trans-Arctic transport corridor infrastructure, including its main artery, the Northern Sea Route. There are many other sectors of the economy where Russia and India have garnered positive experience. We are conducting joint initiatives in industry, machine manufacturing, digital technologies, space exploration, and other science-intensive avenues. For example, in accordance with the commercial agreement signed during the visit, there will be a large Russian-Indian pharmaceutical factory built in the Kaluga region in Russia. We will be starting the production of high-quality anti-tumor medicinal drugs using the advanced Indian technology. In their turn, the Russian enterprises will be establishing the production of industrial products in the framework of the Make in India program, which is a hallmark project of distinguished Prime Minister Modi. The prospects of the reinforcement of the interaction of Russian-Indian entrepreneurs and business circles are discussed in detail during the ongoing Business Forum in New Delhi. We are going to take part in the plenary session of this event today together with Mr. Modi. The humanitarian cooperation between Russia and India is also of a multifaceted character. Our peoples throughout centuries have been sincerely interested in the traditions, history, and spiritual values of each other. Scientific and educational contacts, exchanges from among the youth and public are also actively developing. The regular alternating festivals of Russian Indian cinema are always popular. From year to year, we see the increase in tourist flows. Today, the Russian TV channel RT is starting its broadcast in India. The new channel will undoubtedly help the Indian audience to better know Russia and Russians, and also to receive an objective information regarding what is going on in our country today. While discussing the key global and regional problems, we have confirmed the consonance between the positions of our countries. Russia and India are conducting independent and self-sufficient foreign policy together with our like-minded countries in BRICS and SCO, and from among other countries of the global majority. We are promoting the processes of forming of a more just and democratic multipolar world order. We are defending the main principles of the international law enshrined in the Charter of the UN. Among them, the right of any country for its own way of development and the preservation of their cultural civilizational identity, respect for sovereignty, careful balance of interests of all participants of the world community. As state founders of the BRICS, Russia and India have done a lot of things, and continue to do more to increase the authority of the organization. As you know, next year India will assume the chairship, and the BRICS will provide all necessary assistance to our Indian friends in the work on the relevant BRICS agenda. I would like to point out Russia and India are traditionally closely cooperating in the military technical sphere. Our country, for the last half a century, has been helping to arm and modernize the Indian Army, including the air defense forces, aviation, and the Navy. In general, we are undoubtedly satisfied with the results of the negotiation we just had. We're also, ahead of us, we have the meeting with the President of India, Madam Murmu. But even now, I can express my confidence that the current visit and the agreements reached will help the further deepening of the Russian-Indian strategic partnership for the benefit of our countries and the peoples of India and Russia. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir. That concludes the press statements. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your presence.
All right, viewers, there, of course, we've just heard the press statements by both Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi as well as Russian President Vladimir Putin. Of course, Prime Minister Modi has highlighted at the outset that bilateral relations are witnessing a historic milestone because it's now 25 years since ties were elevated to a strategic partnership all the way back in 2001. In the meantime, there was the special and privileged partnership was also inked all the way back 15 years ago, to be very, very specific. He's highlighted that President Putin has played a very crucial role in elevating this partnership and strengthening the ties, long-standing ties between India and Russia. He's called for diversified, balanced, sustainable partnership, as emphasized that agreements will benefit people in both countries, specifically the mobility agreement, the training for specialists in ships operating in polar waters, agreements in the agricultural sector as well. It's also giving a major impetus to make in India. Vocational education, skilling training on that front will also take place. Prime Minister Modi has highlighted, of course, the Ukraine war, emphasizing his position that he's taken since day one, that India is on the side of peace. President Putin, on the other hand, has stated that he's established a close working dialogue, I beg your pardon, with Prime Minister Modi. Various sectors have been reviewed. An impressive package of intergovernment agreements have been inked. He's highlighted that trade has grown by 12% last year. It's currently at 64 billion. The target is, of course, 2030. For 2030 is 100 billion US dollars. He's spoken about the Kundankulam nuclear plant. It is the largest nuclear plant in India. 2 units have been constructed. 4 are currently being constructed. This is a joint project by India and Russia. We've recently seen Russia also supply fuel to the Kundankulam nuclear plant that was done by their state nuclear agency, Rosatom. President Putin has also emphasized that they are ready to supply uninterrupted fuel to India. This comes as India is, of course, under punitive sanctions by the United States of America, sanctions as steep as 50%. Apart from this, the pharmaceutical industry was also highlighted, and cultural people-to-people ties was also spotlighted by the President of Russia. He's also emphasized that Russia will be backing India as the chair of BRICS next year. Pointed message being given. He's spoken about the rupee-ruble trade, highlighting that 96% takes place in local currencies. There's been a lot of contention coming in from the United States of America as far as BRICS is concerned and perceived de-dollarization bids are concerned. We will continue to track all of this very, very closely. We'll be back after a quick short break.
In the midst of this life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists.
What we can do as the Interparliamentary Union to strengthen democracy, to promote human rights, to ensure that humanitarian law is respected.
UN Security Council needs a makeover, a comprehensive reform, and India deserves a position there, a role there.
Prime Minister Modi during Operation Sindoor made it amply clear that war has never been India's choice. We are with the side of peace. We are neither neutral nor indifferent. We are with peace.
We would have dealt with the U.S. a whole lot on trade and those kinds of things, and that's not as certain these days. So we have to go back and look at our European partners, our Asian partners.
An opportunity to exchange, to have a dialogue, to have a debate on a different perspective on finding the solution of the conflict.
First thing that is important to have a common ground, and that we do have with humanitarian laws and human rights, but also to say, okay, what does it mean for us as a country to act on these laws and how can we work together?
When we realize that there's something wrong with democracy, the institutions and policies, values come together and we take stock, and it's possible then to improve and chart a new course for democracy.
It's the people's right to self-determination, and if they want to be independent, they should be independent. We will not start a war against Greenland.
In the midst of this, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists.
What we can do as the Interparliamentary Union to strengthen democracy, to promote human rights, to ensure that humanitarian law is respected.
UN Security Council needs a makeover, a comprehensive reform, and India deserves a position there, a role there.
Prime Minister Modi during Operation Sindoor made it amply clear that war has never been India's choice. We are with the side of peace. We are neither neutral nor indifferent. We are with peace.
We would have dealt with the U.S. a whole lot on trade and those kinds of things, and that's not as certain these days. So we have to go back and look at our European partners, our Asian partners.
An opportunity to exchange, to have a dialogue, to have a debate on a different perspective on finding the solution of the conflict.
First thing that is important to have a common ground, and that we do have with humanitarian laws and human rights, but also to say, okay, what does it mean for us as a country to act on these laws and how can we work together?
When we realize that there's something wrong with democracy, the institutions and policies, values come together and we take stock, and it's possible then to improve and chart a new course for democracy.
It's the people's right to self-determination, and if they want to be independent, they should be independent. We will not start a war against Greenland.
viewers, I'm Pia and you're watching NewsX World. We've just seen the press statements by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Russian President Vladimir Putin conclude. There was a crucial bilateral meeting at the Hyderabad house just before that. And of course, the optics of this visit, the timing of this visit by Russian President Vladimir Putin is of course something that is raising eyebrows across the world. There are people across the world who are keeping a close watch on the outcomes of this particular summit. Remember, it's the 23rd India-Russia annual summit. It is taking place at a time when India is facing punitive sanctions by the United States of America, steep 50% sanctions for buying Russian oil. Russian state oil producers, Rosneft and Lukoil, have also been sanctioned, but at the same time, we've been seeing conversations between Russian officials and US officials in order to broker a peace deal. There was Steve Witkoff a couple of days back in Moscow having a 5-hour conversation with Vladimir Putin, and now Putin is here in India being hosted by Narendra Modi. Red carpet welcome yesterday at the tarmac at the Palam airport. All hugs and all smiles. Both leaders also rode the same car, very reminiscent of what transpired on the sidelines of the SCO summit in Tianjin earlier this year. In the meantime, I'll just walk all you viewers through what exactly was stated by both leaders. Prime Minister Modi has highlighted that a strategic partnership was set in stone 25 years ago. It was, of course, elevated to another level 15 years ago, and he's credited Vladimir Putin's vision for this. He's also emphasized that an economic cooperation framework for 2030 has been agreed upon, that both countries are looking for a diversified, balanced and sustainable partnership. President Putin and Prime Minister Modi will of course be participating in the business forum very, very shortly. But a lot is being done on the economic realm and the economic front. Exports, co-production, co-innovation is touted to become even better. It will benefit people in both countries, including farmers, including the youth. Training for specialists in ships operating in polar waters will be taking place. There's a major impetus to make in India, especially in the pharmaceutical sector as well. 2 new Indian consulates have opened in Russia recently. There's another MOU that has been exchanged today in the labor sphere as well. Manpower mobility will create new opportunities. Vocational education, skilling and training is of course in focus as well. But another crucial aspect upon which the Indian Prime Minister spoke about was of course the Russia-Ukraine war, emphasizing once again that India is on the side of peace, that this is not an era of war. He's also spoken about terrorism, stating that both countries oppose terrorism. Both countries have suffered through terrorism. He's remembered Pahalgam as well as the Crocus City Hall attacks and emphasized that unity is our biggest strength against terror. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has stated that he has established a close working dialogue with Prime Minister Modi. They earlier, of course, met at the SCO summit, but this time around, various sectors have been reviewed. There's been an impressive package of inter-governmental and inter-agency agreements that have been inked. He's emphasized that bilateral trade turnover grew 12% last year. It's at 64 billion at the moment. The target is 100 billion by 2030. The FTA zone that has been created between India and the EAEU is in focus. Trade in national currencies, the rupee-ruble trade, about 96% of the trade currently underway is through this means. He's spoken about the Kundankulam nuclear plant as well. This is the largest nuclear plant in India. 2 units constructed, 4 are being constructed. One very crucial statement has also been that Russia is ready to supply uninterrupted fuel to India. He's pointed out the fact that talks regarding small nuclear reactors are underway and people-to-people and cultural exchanges will also take place. But last but not the least, he's highlighted that Russia will be backing India as the chair of BRICS next year. With us on the broadcast is NewsX World Senior Executive Editor Megha Sharma. Thank you so much, Megha, for joining us on the broadcast. I know it's been quite a busy day for you on the ground. You've been reporting since morning. Walk our viewers through the statement that both leaders have given, some of the key takeaways from these statements as well.
Yes, the statements that came in from both the heads of the governments of India and of Russia were on expected lines. We have been speaking about strengthening economic ties, diversification of investment and trade between both countries, and that's how Prime Minister Narendra Modi started his speech. He spoke about taking economic cooperation to new heights. He spoke about a 2030 economic cooperation program where Indian trade and investment into Russia is going to be diversified, it is going to be sustained and balanced in a bid to reach that $100 billion trade between both countries. A slew of these measures, particularly including the MOUs that have been signed, the intergovernment agreements that have been signed, whether we talk about, the collaboration between the two ministries when it comes to shipbuilding, exploration of Arctic waters, polar waters, the civil nuclear cooperation that has to be taken to the next stage after the completion of the Kadankulam power plant. 3 of them already activated, remaining 3 are in the process that will be completed in the coming months. But another key aspect that the Prime Minister raised was the Eurasian Economic Union and India Free Trade Agreement. Negotiations continue. Russia is a key part of it. There are Central Asian countries that are also part of this Eurasian Economic Union. Both leaders have hinted at concluding this FTA at the soonest possible. So that's a new that's something that is going to be interesting to watch out for. Talking about strengthening ties with regards to agriculture and fertilizers. India is the largest importer of fertilizers from Russia. At the same time, agricultural produce is exported to Russia, including pomegranate and potatoes and marine products as well into Russia. So these are 2 important sectors that the Prime Minister spoke about. And besides that, there has been a renewed push that is going to be made with regards to urea production. And then another key focus about the Prime Minister specifically mentioning, taking out those few seconds and mentioning about the pharmaceutical plant that is going to be set up in Russia to increase India's production, India's pharmaceutical production to be sold in Russian markets, because that is one of the key areas that India is a top exporter across the globe, Russia notwithstanding. And then we speak about connectivity, very important for both countries. There are already 2 of these transit corridors that have been built. We talk about the international north-south transport corridor that we had already spoken about, and also talking about the Chennai-Vladivostok corridor, trade corridor, and the full potential of these corridors needs to be realized, and work is going to be done by the ministries between both the governments. Of course, shipbuilding, another big key aspect. India has pushed for self-reliance when it comes to shipbuilding and increasing its expanse with regards to its maritime goals. That is something that Russia will handhold India by way of exchange of technology, by way of joint production of these ships, and then exporting them across the globe. So that's also one of the key areas where Russia would be helping India in varied ways to achieve those lofty goals that have been put up. Civil nuclear energy, we've spoken about this. Clean energy, a big priority. Diversification of supply chains for clean energy, high-tech manufacturing. Of course, focusing on people-to-people connect and tourism. There is a 30-day e-tourist visa that India is going to be launching, and they're going to be this group visa on the same lines that is also going to be implemented, that is also going to be granted by India for Russian nationals. So yeah, and then education, skilling and training, scholarship programs, exchange of sports persons, students by both countries, and of course at the end he also spoke about Ukraine and Russia and the conflict that is going on, and how India has been kept in loop by Russia every step of the way. And the Prime Minister particularly spoke about how he encourages and appreciates all efforts that are at this point of time being taken, whether it is from the side of United States of America or from the side of Russia, or in trying to find lasting peace in the region. And these were key aspects that were also touched upon by the Russian president as well. So all in all, like I said, many of these announcements, these MOUs and agreements and the press statements released by both leaders were on expected lines.
Absolutely, Megha. Thank you so much for joining us. You've, of course, as I mentioned earlier, been quite busy on the field. You have the MEA press briefing to track as well. Viewers, that'll come sometime around 4:30 p.m. We'll, of course, be highlighting the remarks then. But also with me on the broadcast are three very special guests. Joining me is Ambassador Suresh Kumar Goyal, former diplomat. He's joining us from New Delhi. Also joining us is Mr. Mark Sutherland, geopolitical commentator from the United Kingdom. And also with us is Mr. Collins Chongyu Keat, Foreign Affairs and Security and Strategy Analyst from University Malaya in Kuala Lumpur. I'd like to rope in Ambassador Goyal into the discussion first. As I stated earlier, there's a lot to unpack with regards to cooperation in high-tech, in AI, in the nuclear sphere, in shipbuilding, in pharmaceuticals, in fertilizers and the agricultural sphere, as far as augmenting trade is concerned as well, energy ties between both countries. But this has taken, as Megha also mentioned earlier, along expected lines as well. What are your key takeaways from this particular summit that has just concluded?
Well, I think, as you said in the end, that most of the outcomes or most of the goals were along the expected lines. Speaking about the nuclear energy, fuel supply, trade, investment cooperation, trade diversification, shipbuilding. They were all really there. Eurasian FTA, they were all really more or less along the familiar lines and expected lines. So we need to really actually now work on the implementation or achievement of these goals. I think it was significant about mentioning of BRICS, that he would be there as the chair of BRICS next year.
Yes.
Now that is very, very significant because it means not only attaching importance to BRICS as a chair, but also basically another visit to India if he comes here for the BRICS meeting in India. So very significant. Putin normally does not give such indications such a long time before in advance, but another indication of the importance he attaches to India relationship. Now, I think what we need to really look at is not just what the granular picture here is. Sufficient has been said, and we were expecting all those things. But I think essentially the kind of ambitious outlook on the relationship and the visit, and the fact that Putin decided to visit India. I mean, even though he's not really visiting so many countries, which means that he is attaching a great deal of importance to building the relations with India to essentially respond to the pressures coming on it from other sectors. And what I mean is a sector from Europe, a sector from USA in terms of sanctions. India has responded well by ignoring or at least looking not really buckling under the pressure of the 25% additional traffic. Important thing here, I think, would be Pia, that India is, Putin is looking at India relationship to rebalance or to come out of the pressure, but I would really call it really rebuilding another global order where USA pressure or the USA is not the one to call shots all the time. I'm really looking for words here, but the thing is that uh, Russia has been under tremendous pressure from the USA and Europe. And for Russia, the important thing is its own security, uh, as in Europe itself, where NATO is actually questioning uh, Russian approach to the security by through Ukraine, and therefore building up another power matrix with India, working with China, that I think is a kind of a thing we are looking at. So let us see how it works out. On the other hand, India also has to balance its relationship with Russia, with the relationship with the USA. We have a very active and very important relationship with the USA.
Absolutely.
It would be wrong to say that we will be uh, we will be actually uh, you know looking the other way in terms of our own interest with the USA. So let us see how it pans out. Very critical relationship, very good visit, but the important thing is to really the global framework in which we must look at it.
Absolutely. I'd also like to rope in Mr. Mark Sutherland on that note. Ambassador Goyal also highlighted that, yes, while India does enjoy a time-tested partnership with Russia, our partnership with the United States of America has been burgeoning as well. We've seen the strategic agreement being renewed. The agreement was once again inked between Pete Hegseth and India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. Russians did, on the defense front, hint right before the entire meeting has taken place, the bilateral discussions have taken place today, that the Su-57, the S-400s, they were all on the cards. We do know that the US has also been offering F-35s. But interestingly, there's been no announcement with regards to the defense sphere, the defense cooperation. We do know that most of the arms that India has, they're of Russian origin. About 36% of the Indian defense apparatus, the arms, are Russian origin arms and weapons. Interestingly also, right before this particular summit, there were speculations and reports circulating that a multi-billion-dollar agreement for India to lease nuclear power attack submarines from Russia. These were floating around, which the Indian government did come out and clarify rather promptly. What do you make of all of this? Is this then some sort of signal that that India is trying to send to United States, which is eyeing this meeting rather closely?
Just go back to the SCO. Let's just remember there was a TV shot of Putin, Modi, and the Chinese leader all together. The key thing about this from an American point of view is that they are concerned with China's Belt and Road Initiative, where they've invested in, what, I don't know, 36 countries, nearly $3 billion. There comes a point, there comes a point when you want payment for that. It's how you then go about doing that. This is all, as you come out and you look at it from a geopolitical, you look at the whole world with what is going on, you then conclude, as you've already said, and others have said this, the whole thing is about then Russia wants a bipolar world, multipolar world. The hegemony in regard to America, they would want to push our way. China wants to be the #1 powerhouse in the world, hence all the investments. And then when you're talking about in regard to military, what is going to be bought, what is offered, if I may say, in my humble opinion, I have a funny feeling that the American administration are now sitting back and watching where this meeting is going, where other meetings are going. Remember in the past that when President Trump, in regard to the Ukraine-Russia war, that we all want to see end, we may then see a bit of a carve up there in regard to that. There are lots of conversations, there are lots of geopolitical maneuvering that is going on behind the scene that we also need to then put on the table. I'll just quickly say this. The other thing is, remember that President Trump then was not particularly not happy with the fact that India would be then buying oil off Russia and then selling that on the open market. Look at the way the Ukrainians then attacked the Ghost Fleet. There is a lot, as we would say, under the water. How big is the iceberg? And we need a lot of time in many ways just to geopolitically see what's going on. Also with America, what they, in regard to Venezuela, in regard to what's going on in their backyard, in regard to Israel, their concerns about Iran and all these other countries and their interference within all of those issues. Thank you.
Indeed, of course, you did mention that Russia is eyeing a multipolar world, and Putin has not really minced his words. He's stated that today as well. Interesting point there raised regarding Trump's reaction, and I'd like to take that forward with Mr. Collins Chong-Yu-Keat, who's been waiting rather patiently with us. Putin has not, sorry, I beg your pardon, Trump has not been happy, not just about the what transpired, the optics of what we saw at the SCO summit with Putin, Xi Jinping and Narendra Modi, but also BRICS to a certain extent, because there were, of course, a lot of murmurs going around regarding de-dollarization, the BRICS currency being floated. India has, of course, been a little hesitant on that front. But Trump has made some very public statements on his social media platform, Truth Social, as well. In light of that, what do you make of Vladimir Putin emphasizing towards the end of the joint statement with regards to India chairing BRICS and Russia, of course, providing complete backing for India's chairmanship of the BRICS next year?
Well, the timing of Putin's visit is strategic, and we have seen how, despite the global isolation of Russia after Ukraine, so the timing of this visit demonstrates that this special and privileged strategic partnership with India is not just transactional in nature, it is a deeply structured long-term in nature in terms of the importance that India gives to Russia. And of course, we have seen how Putin is increasingly trapped in the measures by Europe, by Washington, and that India is seen as the best bet in terms of the fallback option, not only for economic and defense, and of course the energy security, but also in terms of how it is being used to send a message to both Beijing and Washington that despite the efforts by Trump and Washington to isolate, and despite the best efforts by Europe to isolate Moscow further, it still has this newfound presence in Asia, and India represents this new geopolitical anchor in Asia, outside of this conventional norm of the China orbit. And this will preserve Moscow's edge against over-dependence on Beijing. Of course, he has also increased the wariness of Beijing. He has treated Moscow as part of his long-term, close ally, and that these new overtures to India and the warm, welcome and the deepening of ties between both nations have also created more wariness on the side of Beijing. So we have seen how, both are in need of one the other. And we have seen how Russia is also increasingly important. It's a time-tested partnership going back decades, and also this is being used as a leverage, as a subtle message to Washington and President Trump that India still has its own strategic autonomy. Of course, it remains non-aligned. It remains it still has this leverage of strategic maneuvering to have good ties with both Moscow and Washington, and that in practical terms, these returns in terms of economic maneuvering, not only being confined to conventional norms of enhancing energy security, enhancing defense and technological partnership, but also exploring deeper areas that include a better people-to-people relations, and of course also to include also on the aspect of supply chain diversification and supply chain resilience, and to improve the livelihood of farmers in India. So this is a comprehensive and strategic elevation of partnership between both nations. But I would say that of course both leaders use this strategic visit to send a very strategic message, to both adversaries and to, potential, allies as well. And for India, it also strengthens its position vis-a-vis China. And, China might find greater, difficulties, in terms of maybe future disputes with India, having Russia in this entire equation now with closer New Delhi and Moscow ties. So and this is a strategic move to consolidate the anti-Western narrative, anti-Western alternative. But of course, we have seen how the importance of Delhi-Washington relations still remains as the main factor in the overall short-term security needs of India as a whole. And in terms of the pressure, the tariff pressure, in terms of also, despite the move to strengthen defense partnership with Moscow, Washington still looms large, and Trump's influence still looms large on the minds of Modi. But this is yet another move by Modi to strengthen, the near-term strategic returns for India as a whole.
Indeed, there is something that the Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar does say, that India's dealings with Russia or even China for that matter is not really anti-Western, but it is non-Western at large. With that, I'd like to thank you, Mr. Collins Chong-Yu-Keat. I'd also like to thank Ambassador Goel and Mr. Sutherland for taking out time, sharing all your insights and perspectives with our viewers. But on that note, we're shifting focus to some breaking developments that we're tracking from India itself. In response to the ongoing IndiGo flight cancellations and delays, India's Directorate General of Civil Aviation has relaxed a key regulation. The DGCA has now allowed airlines to club leaves with weekly offs. This announcement comes as IndiGo continues to struggle with operational challenges, leading to widespread cancellations and delays across the country. The relaxation is expected to help airlines better manage their schedules amid the ongoing crisis. Meanwhile, in further developments, DGCA Director General of Affairs Ahmed Kidwai has now requested for cooperation from all pilot associations and pilots amid ongoing air travel disruptions. He's issued a statement on that front. IndiGo, the airline that has been worst affected, has also issued a statement confirming that all domestic flights departing from the Delhi airport on the 5th of December, that is today, have been cancelled until 11:59 p.m. The airline has apologized to its affected customers and stakeholders for the disruption, and to assist passengers, IndiGo is offering refreshments, rebooking on the next available flights, hotel accommodations, luggage retrieval, assistance and full refunds where applicable. The airline has expressed its commitment to supporting passengers during the crisis, which has seen more than 1,100 flights being cancelled since the last 4 days. Meanwhile, at the Bengaluru airport, passengers stood in long queues, uncertain about the flight schedules. Let's in fact take a look at what some of them had to say.
Now I'm here at the Terminal 1 of the Bengaluru International Airport, like in front of the reservations and the ticketing counter. You can see the crowd here, they are, all of them, literally all of them are uncertain about, what their next flight time schedules are. And they are kind of inquiring with this counter is what we heard. They are uncertain if their flights have been cancelled and they are rescheduled as well. So there is an absolute confusion with people waiting here with uncertainty. Now, if I can show you here, this information panel here, that's, a lot of IndiGo flights are saying that it's on time. But having said that, these passengers here waiting for that, watching this information, tells us that on the messages that they have received says that, it is on time. But the messages that they have received, I beg your pardon, it says it's cancelled. But what's showing on the information panel here, the display here, is showing on time. So there is a lot of confusion here. We'll talk to a passenger. Ma'am, like, where are you headed to and what is the issue that you're facing here?
Yeah, I'm headed to Nasik, and I've just got a message that the flight is delayed. It is cancelled actually, and I'm waiting for an update on the screen, but there's nothing coming up after 1 o'clock. So I was going to meet family after, like, relatives after 3 years. So it's a big disappointment for me, and I don't even know, like, what's the next thing, because all flights to nearby airports like Bombay and Pune are like costing like 15,000 plus for tomorrow as well. So I guess I have to go back home now.
Okay, so that's a flight of one passenger. Let's find out, sir, where are you headed to and what is the issue that you're facing?
Yeah, I'm headed to Mumbai.
Okay.
Now they are saying they have cancelled all the flights. And I didn't get a message. At least they have sent me a message. I could have not come. Like, I wasted so much time coming to the airport and then finding that all the planes are cancelled. At least they should have sent a message. No message. Even like people who have like on schedule, they are saying they're not allowed now.
So may I know the purpose of your visit? Is it kind of...
I had gone, like there was a death in the family, so I was going to attend the funeral. Now I have to like cancel it.
So that was a passenger who's waiting to attend a funeral. Ma'am, like if you can say like you're going through an ordeal here.
Absolutely. I don't know. They've not intimated us. They've not told us, we've just landed. We've come here and now they're not even allowing us to go inside. I mean, I don't know. At least there should be some kind of system in place. I understand there may be a technical glitch or something in the Airbus, whatever it is. This we shouldn't go through. I mean, after paying so much and the rest of the tickets are like, 35, 40,000 for the next flights. And what do we do for people who have emergency, who has to travel? I mean, I don't know. This is crazy.
Where are you headed to and what is the flight?
I'm going to Delhi. And I've got an assignment tomorrow, which I have to go. I don't know what to do. Unfortunately, if they would have intimated, I wouldn't have come down, right? We would have arranged something I would have managed. Anyways, I mean, like
that was a passenger who, who was going to Delhi for the assignment. So, what is your issue? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, actually, I was traveling for Bangalore to Chandigarh, but due to suddenly, I just for 1 hour back, I got a update that my flight got cancelled. I was here for my office visit, but suddenly I have to attend some of the family functions. I'm not able to attend it now. So even the remaining flights rates are also spiked up a lot. So I have to figure it out. I'm just thinking, and even the queues are very long, and I'm just waiting for my queries to be answered.
Okay. Let's move on to one more.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I have booked consecutive 2 flights today. One was in the morning, another is at 3:30 to Delhi. So thing is, airline is behaving like they're very new to the system. At least they should inform the passengers. They are not doing so. And it's very pathetic. I mean, people are coming to airport. After coming here only, they get to know that the flights are cancelled. They should do some arrangements. But this is very worst from this airline, which is top in the country.
So, if you're comfortable, may I know the purpose of your visit?
I'm going back to home. Going back to home, I have to attend some functions.
Okay, so those are the plights of sir. What is your issue?
Basically, my brother is inside. He is a small one, so he has to fly back to Varanasi. The 12:30 flight was there. Till now, they were showing like the flight is on time. Till now, they were showing. Just now, we are seeing it's marked as cancelled. He went to the counter. They told it is cancelled, and then now he is in the queue. Yes, he is going home after 1 year actually. He is a first-time flyer. He's very scared. I seen him from the window here. He was literally crying. He was hoping for first-time fly and all, but his hope is not now. And now he has to come back. At least I am telling him to come back, and we'll see if there is a process of refund. I don't know. The only process to refund, get the money is getting in this queue, or any other process is there. I don't know. Even I don't know. So what should we do now? We are just like.
So that was a first-time flyer who was getting, dreaded response from here, from the IndiGo operation. So where are you headed to? What is the issue that you're seeing?
To Bombay. We're headed to Bombay. We're not allowed to board as of now. They've asked us to wait, but the flight says delayed at the moment. It was supposed to be a 2 p.m. flight. Right now, it's showing 3:30 delayed, but the gate staff aren't letting us board. And on the airlines on the airport website, it says cancelled. All flights are cancelled, so we have to wait. The problem is that we actually have further flights from different cities, so we are stuck. And there's no more flights today. All the flights are expensive. They've become 30,000, 40,000. Makes no sense. We're stuck.
May I know the purpose of your visit?
We're going on work. We have programs today and tomorrow. Yeah, so...
How does that stand? Is it...
Stands cancelled. We're losing money. It's going to be an inconvenience for the people that have trusted us to be there. It's going to be a big mess for us. Yeah, we're losing a lot of money this weekend.
So, can you share with us what is your plight?
It's just terrifying. I mean, I've never come across a situation like this where so many people are stranded in the airport, and obviously this also we are losing time, energy, and money because it's a big weekend, it's a big season, and yeah, it's just terrible. We've never seen anything like this before.
Okay, may I know the purpose of your visit?
Work. Okay. Yeah. So
that was once again a passenger. Ma'am, would you share with us what's the plight?
Actually, it was totally uncertain. The situation we are facing is very difficult. We just came for a training. We are going back to Kochi, and till now we didn't get any update whether it is cancelled or we have to reschedule it. It's very difficult actually for every passengers facing a situation like this.
Okay. Let's find out if somebody else can. So what is the plight that you're going through here?
So the thing is, my flight got cancelled, and I am not sure actually that the flight has actually been cancelled or not.
Okay.
So the thing.
So what does that information board say?
I'm trying to see. I just came here.
Okay.
Let me see first.
Fine. So uncertain customers here, ma'am. Would you like to say what is your plight? You're waiting for to catch a flight.
Yeah, I am. It's at 2:10. They're not letting me in. I don't have a message that it's cancelled. I am unaware. I don't know what to do.
Where are you headed to, and may I know the purpose of the visit?
I came here for my work. I'm going Delhi back home, and I don't know how to go. They've cancelled all the flights.
So how long have you been stranded here? What is the time?
Almost 45 minutes I'm here, and they're not telling us anything. That's the problem. They're not letting us in. Nothing. We are clueless. Yeah.
Okay. So that was a passenger who's uncertain about when she's going to return to Delhi. Let's talk to. Ma'am, what is the issue here, ma'am? What is your plight?
My flight was to Bangalore to Jaipur, and they said it's at 5:55. Now it says it's cancelled, and we are 8 of us traveling for my brother's son's naming ceremony. I don't have any connecting flights. I'm really lost right now. I don't know what else to do, so I'm just thinking there's no connecting flight also. So I don't know whether we'll make it to the function. I don't know. So a lot of things have been arranged. So this is very pathetic. They said it's extended, rescheduled to 5:55. Now it says it's cancelled. So we don't know. There's no alternate arrangements also. So I'm very clueless right now.
So that was the voices of some of the passengers that you heard here at the Bengaluru International Airport. They are certainly unsure of the rescheduling that's happening with IndiGo flights here, and they are certainly unsure as to whether they would return to their destinations today, or it would take a couple of days more. With camera person Pawan Kumar, this is Billy Thomas for News 6 Bengaluru. So today is the day 4 of the disruptions that the IndiGo Airlines, that is the India's largest airlines operating. You can see the crowd that is gathered around the reservation and the ticketing counter there. People are uncertain of their flight schedules, and they are kind of inquiring with the ground duty staff as to know at what time would their flights be scheduled. And you can look at the crowd here, and you can also look at the people who are waiting anxiously as to when their rescheduled flights would be at now. So as of now, from the Bengaluru International Airport, around 56 flights have been cancelled and 46 flights are delayed as of now. And you can see the information panel here, which says quite of the IndiGo's flights are on time now, but you can see cancelled also among them, and the security, the flights that are delayed also are displayed here. So all of them are IndiGo. This is from Terminal 1 of the Bengaluru International Airport. And now we'll try to speak to some passengers here. So, can I know, like, where are you traveling to?
We are going to Rajkot.
Okay. So, what is the schedule of your flight? Like, is it delayed? Is it cancelled? Any idea about that?
It apparently says on the email that it's cancelled, but I don't see any physical status here because I think only immediate flights are available, and just waiting to see if it's actually cancelled or no.
Okay. So, when is your flight, and what is the purpose of the visit? If you can share with us.
It's actually a pilgrimage. We had been planning it for more than a month. Yeah, it was supposed to leave at 1:30 and reach there by 3:30.
Where to?
Rajkot.
Okay. Fine. So that was an agreed passenger still waiting for the flight. Let's find out, sir, where are you headed to, and what is the status of your flight?
Yeah. Sir, we are headed to Indore, but they are not showing anything and they are not telling anything about the flight. But we have got some from people that it has been cancelled. My brother's marriage, he is here. He have to go for the marriage, but they have cancelled the flight. They are not even rescheduling. I'll give the rescheduled ticket, but even that is not guaranteed that it will fly or not. Okay. And so what should the...
It's Indore, so we don't know if there's no other easy alternative that we can reach there.
Okay. So what is the position of the marriage now? Have they communicated to you yet?
Means we have, the marriage is on, but the bride has to reach there. The bride and groom has to be there together. So it's really difficult. We don't have any idea. And when we try the check-in status, it says group booking, please reach counter. If I stand in this counter, it will take at least 2 hours for me. 4 o'clock was the flight. Okay. And there is nothing displayed on the screen for Indore as of now. It's only up to 12:40. Okay. So we are left with no communication. There is no point calling the number or anything.
Giving you the right answer. What has happened? What should we do? They are helpless. That time we are helpless. We can't do it. From last 72 hours, there are nearly 500 flights have been cancelled. We have no idea what would happen for the next.
मैसेज डाल रहे हैं 0 टाइम पे मैसेज डाल रहे हैं कम से पहले
चेन्नई से हम लोग So this is the plight of a group of passengers waiting to attend marriage with the bride here, stuck at the Bengaluru International Airport. Now we have some passengers from Chennai traveling to Chennai. So what is?
हम चेन्नई से ट्रैवल करके अभी इधर आए तो अभी ये वो लोग बोल रहे हैं कि अभी कैंसिल है तो ये एक्सेप्ट क्यों कर रहे हैं ये टिकट क्यों एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं लोगों को चूतिया बना रहे हैं क्या हम 700 किलोमीटर अभी वहाँ से चेन्नई से ट्रैवल करके आ रहे हैं चेन्नई की फ्लाइट थी वो बेंगलोर से वो कैंसिल हो गई अब यहाँ से जो फ्लाइट है वो कैंसिल कर दिए फिर एक्सेप्ट क्यों कर रहे हैं ये लोग अब तो 3 फ्लाइट तो कैंसिल हो गई है ये चूतिया बना रहे हैं ना ये लोग
So this is the frustration level that you can see among the passengers, and I have one more passenger here. Like, can you? Where are you heading to? What is happening?
We are heading to Nasik. Yesterday we booked a ticket from Chennai to Shirdi, but that ticket got cancelled, and we then second day today we booked it from Bangalore. We came from by car from Chennai to here. We paid 15,000 to the car so that we can get flight early. But what happened? This flight is also cancelled, and today one of my friend's daughter marriage is there, so we have to reach by 5 o'clock. And what the use? You have to look into something. Government should see in this problem. These are the genuine problem of the people. Some medical issue, something. They will have to.
So that is the plight of the passengers here stuck at the Bengaluru International Airport, and we heard, from the IndiGo staffers that it would take another 2 days for them to rectify these disruptions and bring back this flight time duty limitations phase 2 implementation to get ready with, and the operations to go undisrupted. With camera person Pawan Kumar, this is Belly Thomas for NewsX Bengaluru. So what is the issue here? What did you?
Issue is that in the morning they have sent a WhatsApp message that shows that flight has been cancelled and we will refund the full money in 3-5 days. Now when we have booked rescheduled our flight to Air India, now what is happening, they are just suddenly showing that it is on time. And at 12 we got to know in the airport only.
Did you get a message from the IndiGo airline?
No, we haven't got any message. Now they are saying that it is on time. I don't know what is happening actually.
You're uncertain about your money, whether
it will be refunded or not actually, because the flights are already very costly nowadays.
Can I have your name?
Asim.
Thank you. So what is the issue here? What are you waiting for?
I'm supposed to fly to Delhi, but I don't know will I be able to do that or no. My flight is scheduled at 2 o'clock. In the morning it showed that it's delayed by around an hour and a half. Now it's not showing any status. And I can't actually take refund. I can't cancel it online. I've booked it through an agent, through ClearTrip. And they are asking me to, go through ClearTrip, and ClearTrip has directed me back to IndiGo, to airlines. I don't know what to do. I have no option but to wait, and I'm pretty sure it's going to, get cancelled. I don't know what to do about the refund status. I mean, I know I'll not be able to, fly. Worst part is, I doubt whether I'll get my money back as well. So it's crazy.
Sir, is it emergency or any?
It's not an emergency, but it was a planned trip. I had actually committed to somebody, there is an office function, and I had committed to him that, look, I mean, they have completed 25 years, so I was hoping that I'll be able to, attend them on time. But looks like, I'll have to, miss that.
Can I have your name, sir?
Ashish Chawla.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So where are you headed to? What is the issue that you are suffering from this?
Actually, my flight got cancelled since from last 2 days. Wednesday I was also here. Yesterday I was also here, but there is no support from the IndiGo person. Since from last 2 days I'm coming here. Then after I came to know that my flight got cancelled. Today I'll come in the hope that I'll get my flight. I'm heading to Hyderabad.
Okay. What is the purpose of the visit, sir? Is it emergency or anything?
It's not that emergency, but yeah, I'm actually visiting to, since from 3 days I'm been just here, and I don't know, I have to return as well on Monday, but no idea. Yeah. Aditya Shrivastava. Thank you.
Singapore this morning, and we arrived, and we've been told our flight's been cancelled, so we're stuck here. We don't know. We're meant to be going to Goa, and we have no idea how to get there now.
When is your flight, and what is the may I know the purpose of the visit? Is it emergency or anything else?
Oh no, we were coming on holiday, but we're kind of stuck where we don't know. I've got no internet.
Any idea about your flight status, schedule?
They've just said cancelled, and they don't know when we can get another flight. So now we're looking at options of train or a taxi. Yeah, but it's a long drive to Goa. So we're having a bit of a nightmare day. But everyone's been very helpful. So.
Can I have your name?
It's Lucy.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so you asked me what is happening. I wish they knew, then I would know. But basically, I think they have offered a rescheduling. But when they reschedule, they say that we don't know whether you will get another. You may come back midnight and you may have the same problem. So they are happy to reschedule, but then they are saying that we are not committing. And then we hear lots of stories of people coming back twice, thrice over 2 days. They are doing a refund. That's what's happening.
Okay, so where are you headed to?
To Delhi. To Delhi, we had all hotel bookings. We had, there is a Jashn Ekta happening. So I think we'll have substantial financial loss on this. But yeah. So I'll try to cancel my hotel bookings, but let's see if if the hotels are a little more considerate than IndiGo is. Let's see.
Okay.
I don't know what to say. I'm so speechless at the moment at the complete unconscionability of the corporate involved. I mean, how can IndiGo do this? And I'm sure he'll get away with it. I'm sure IndiGo will get away with it. There is no accountability at all. And they say, no, we will not give you proof. We will not give you this. We will not give you this. Sorry, madam, we are just staff. And we take the loss. We are cockroaches. Anubha Gupta.
Thank you so much.
In the midst of this, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists.
What we can do as the Interparliamentary Union to strengthen democracy, to promote human rights, to ensure that humanitarian law is respected.
UN Security Council needs a makeover, a comprehensive reform, and India deserves a position there, a role there.
Prime Minister Modi during Operation Sindoor made it amply clear that war has never been India's choice. We are with the side of peace. We are neither neutral nor indifferent. We are with peace.
We would have dealt with the US a whole lot on trade and those kinds of things, and that's not as certain these days. So we have to go back and look at our European partners, our Asian partners.
An opportunity to exchange, to have a dialogue, to have a debate on a different perspective on finding the solution of the conflict.
First thing that is important to have a common ground, and that we do have with humanitarian laws and human rights, but also to say, okay, what does it mean for us as a country to act on these laws and how can we work together?
When we realize that there's something wrong with democracy, the institutions and policies, values come together and we take stock, and it's possible then to improve and chart a new course for democracy.
It's the people's right to self-determination, and if they want to be independent, they should be independent. We will not start a war against Greenland.
In the midst of this, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists.
What we can do as the Interparliamentary Union to strengthen democracy, to promote human rights, to ensure that humanitarian law is respected.
UN Security Council needs a makeover, a comprehensive reform, and India deserves a position there, a role there.
Prime Minister Modi during Operation Sindoor made it amply clear that war has never been India's choice. We are with the side of peace. We are neither neutral nor indifferent. We are with peace.
We would have dealt with the US a whole lot on trade and those kinds of things, and that's not as certain these days. So we have to go back and look at our European partners, our Asian partners.
An opportunity to exchange, to have a dialogue, to have a debate on a different perspective on finding the solution of the conflict.
First thing that is important to have a common ground, and that we do have with humanitarian laws and human rights, but also to say, okay, what does it mean for us as a country to act on these laws and how can we work together?
When we realize that there's something wrong with democracy, the institutions and policies, values come together and we take stock, and it's possible then to improve and chart a new course for democracy.
It's the people's right to self-determination, and if they want to be independent, they should be independent. We will not start a war against Greenland.
in the midst of this, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists.
What we can do as the Interparliamentary Union to strengthen democracy, to promote human rights, to ensure that humanitarian law is respected.
UN Security Council needs a makeover, a comprehensive reform, and India deserves a position there, a role there.
Prime Minister Modi during Operation Sindoor made it amply clear that war has never been India's choice. We are with the side of peace. We are neither neutral nor indifferent. We are with peace.
We would have dealt with US a whole lot on trade and those kinds of things, and that's not as certain these days. So we have to go back and look at our European partners, our Asian partners.
An opportunity to exchange, to have a dialogue, to have a debate on a different perspective on finding the solution of the conflict.
First thing that is important to have a common ground, and that we do have with humanitarian laws and human rights.
Hello and welcome. I'm Asima Katauka and you're watching the News X Eurozone. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. French President Emmanuel Macron and Chinese President Xi Jinping were seen together in Chengdu, China, in a gesture highlighting Beijing's focus on Paris as it seeks more economic engagement with the EU, as Macron ended his China visit on a lighter note, with the agenda featuring a visit by his wife, First Lady Brigitte, to a research center for pandas. French President Emmanuel Macron takes on French Murdoch on battle against disinformation. French President Emmanuel Macron has come under fire from the political right for suggesting that news outlets be labeled to distinguish those that comply with journalistic ethics from those that do not. According to a transcript of a confidential call cited by German magazine, French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz have voiced severe skepticism about efforts by the US government and its envoys to negotiate a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia. Germany's ruling coalition of German Chancellor Friedrich Merz faces a test of unity today when Germany votes on a bill expanding pensions for people to work past retirement, as Vice Chancellor Lars Klingbeil warns that government must rely on its own ranks to pass such bill. The EU has agreed to fully phase out Russian gas by September 2027 and ban LNG imports by the end of 2025, with plans to cut Russian oil next. While the move is hailed as a step towards European energy independence, Hungary and Slovakia are preparing legal challenges as Russia warns of higher costs and reduced competitiveness. Greek parliament approves purchases of rocket systems from Israel. The purchases of 36 pulse rocket artillery systems from Israel for about $757.84 million, as it seeks to keep up arms race with its historic rival and neighbor Turkey. Dutch Economic Affairs Minister has defended his surprise takeover of Nexperia, saying the move made without informing EU, China or US allies was necessary to protect strategic chip supplies. The seizure has sparked many criticizing his move as lawmakers question this drastic measure. A vast leak of Syrian intelligence files has triggered a wave of Belgian investigations, as Belgium is conducting 19 criminal investigations into suspected Syrian war criminals living in Belgium, as Syria marks a year after the collapse of Bashar al-Assad's regime. Now Now we start with Kremlin's statements. The Kremlin has said that there are no plans for Putin-Trump phone call for now. Kremlin has also added that Moscow is waiting for a reaction from the United States after the meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and U.S. Special Envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. It has added that Russia is encouraged by talks with the United States and is ready to engage further. This comes as Putin has stated that there are some proposals in the U.S. plan to end the war that are unacceptable to the Kremlin. He has also said that the proposals discussed at the Kremlin meeting were based on earlier discussions between Russia and the United States. He has added that his 5-hour talks with Witkoff and Trump's advisor, as well as son-in-law Jared Kushner, were necessary and useful, but also difficult work. President Putin has remarked that the initial U.S. 28-point peace proposal was trimmed to 27 points and split into 4 packages. However, he has refused to elaborate on what Russia could accept or reject. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Ben Aris. He's a Russian journalist, joins us live from Berlin. Thank you very much, Mr. Aris, for joining us again. Good to see you. Can you tell us what do we know so far about this 28-point that has been reduced to 27?
Well, it sounds like the American version of the plan. This whole story kicked off when it was leaked, the Americans together with the Russians and some input from the Ukrainians, excuse me, had drawn up a 28-point plan. That follows with a summit in Geneva where the Europeans got involved. And then the Europeans started cutting the plan up. So there was a 19-point version that was completely different to the original one. There was a European Parliament version, also with lots of red lines for the Kremlin. And it seems that at the meeting in Moscow this week between Witkoff and Kushner, together with Putin, that the Americans have just ignored all of the European input and gone back to their original 28-point plan. One of the points has been dropped. After the meeting, both the Kremlin and the American side said they weren't going to release any details about what was discussed, although Ushakov, the aide to Putin, made it very clear that the question of territories is top of the list. But one of those points has been downgraded, and everyone's guessing as to which one it is.
And Mr. Aris, how do you analyze current unity towards Ukraine among European countries?
There is none. If the Americans have presented their own plan and ignored the European recommendations, then there is a dramatic split now between the allies, between Europe and America. And moreover, you mentioned in your preamble that Spiegel, a German magazine, got hold of notes, a high-level EU meeting just a couple of days ago. And there Macron is talking about warning Zelensky that America is going to, quote unquote, betray him by giving away territory or agreeing to give away territory to Russia. And how that would work would be that the Americans could unilaterally recognize Russia's sovereignty over particularly the Donbass and the Crimea over the heads of the Ukrainians who have refused to contemplate giving up territory, over the heads of the Europeans who have been backing Zelensky on that particular point, and then put Zelensky into an awkward position where they present their version of the plan, approved by Putin, as a fait accompli and told him, take it or leave it. If you leave it, then we just cut you off completely.
And particularly I wanted to ask about E4 countries. How do you see E4 countries supporting Ukraine further? And do you see that they are willing to they're willing to see war continuing or ending?
It's a difficult question. Clearly from the rhetoric that the EU is committed to continuing to support Ukraine, and it's also equally clear that America has now walked away. Trump has sent no money whatsoever this year since he took over, and America used to account for 40% of the funding. And that puts Ukraine into an extremely difficult position because they need at least $100 billion a year to keep going, half of that for military, half of that for government. And the EU has to take on the entire burden, and it hasn't got the money. money. I mean, most of European economies are in crisis, in recession. France, they've got a massive budget crisis, and they're looking to seize the frozen Russian central bank assets, some 300 billion, in order to pay for Ukraine going forward. But then that effort is failing. And without the so-called reparation loan, then Europe just doesn't have the money. And so Ukraine's facing a huge crisis, economic crisis it is in the beginning of next year, where it's just going to run out of cash. And I don't know, that would force it into defeat, to capitulation, simply because they can't pay, the soldiers' wages, they can't pay teachers' wages, and they can't afford to buy any more arms.
Yes. We'll come back to you, Mr. Aris. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, staying in the region, French President Emmanuel Macron has reaffirmed that unity between Europe and the United States remains critical in supporting the Ukraine. He has also stated that there is no sign of mistrust between the two sides. Macron made these remarks during his visit to China, where he has emphasized that Europe and the United States must continue working together to advance efforts towards peace in Ukraine. He has also indicated that European leaders support the peace initiatives currently being pursued by Washington in Moscow. These statements follow reports from a German publication which suggested that both the French president and the German chancellor have expressed concerns in private about U.S. negotiation efforts with Moscow. The report allegedly referred to a transcript from a confidential call. Now we welcome back Mr. Ben Aris. He's a Russian journalist, joins us live from Berlin. Thank you very much, Mr. Aris, for staying with us. As you mentioned earlier in our earlier discussion, that you don't see any unity among European coalition or European countries. Do you think? How long do you think Zelensky can hold his place or his office?
It's also a good question. I mean, one of the 28 points presented by the Americans was that there has to be elections within 100 days. Effectively, that means ousting Zelensky, changing the leadership for a post-war agreement. Zelensky's got a double trouble, in so much as that in the last few weeks, a massive corruption scandal has broken in Ukraine that's doing him huge damage, where one of his business partners, a close friend, where he went to celebrate his birthday at Mindic's house, has walked off with $100 million in a kickback corruption scandal in the energy sector. And this has been hugely damaging. I mean, 2 ministers have also been implicated and fired. Yermak, the head of the presidential administration, and probably the second most powerful person in the country, has also been implicated and fired. And the Ukrainians themselves are they're suffering under a hail of missiles and drones. And the elite, the leadership of the country, is helping themselves to tens of millions of dollars in corrupt schemes to enrich themselves. And Mindich himself has fled the country and is now believed to be somewhere like Israel with the money. There's no arrest warrant for him, although he's been sanctioned by Zelensky. And all of this is coming together at a time where Zelensky might be forced into territorial concessions to Russia to end the war. And that would be political suicide on his part. But it doesn't seem he has much choice. So he's really backed into a corner. And there's a lot of speculation that he's not going to survive as the leader of the country for much longer.
Right, we will be eyeing that. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Ben Aris for joining us as a Russian journalist from Berlin. Thank you very much. Now we move on to our next news. China and France have issued joint statements on several global issues, including Ukraine and Palestine. Both sides have expressed support for all efforts aimed at achieving a ceasefire and restoring peace in accordance with international law. In addition to political cooperation, the two nations have signed multiple agreements, including protocols on sanitary requirements for the export of French alfalfa grass to China, as well as an MOU in the registration of infant formula milk powders. Furthermore, both countries have released a joint statement on nuclear energy cooperation and agricultural collaboration, underscoring their continued commitment to strengthening bilateral ties. Now for this discussion, we welcome retired Major General G.G. Dwivedi. He's an international relations and defense expert, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Major General, for joining us again. Good to see you. Major General, how do you analyze what's come out of Macron and Xi's bilaterals, including the call for unity and the call for support for Palestine?
Well, Asuma, firstly, always a pleasure to be on the UX World. Well, this visit of President Macron comes at a very crucial time because the Ukraine war is actually in a very, I would say, difficult state because on one side, the talks are on to bring the war to an end, and there's the President Trump's initiative. On the other side, Europe and France are not on the same page with America. At the same time, the Europeans and French feel that the Chinese are instrumental in lending very valuable support to President Putin to carry the war on. So therefore, when you look at this whole complex or the whole situation, this visit actually has high degree of significance. Now, first and foremost, the French and the Chinese relations. Well, this is Macron's fourth visit to China after he became the president. And this is also the 60th year of cycle between the French and the Chinese relationship. The point is that I think a couple of issues are on the agenda. First and foremost, President Macron feels, or at least will try, that to convince President Xi, because Xi has very good relation with President Putin. Rather, China and Russian relations today are no limit friendship. So possibly, President Macron feels that they can pressurize China, and in turn, China can pressurize Putin to at least end the war, or at least negotiate to end the war. That is point number one. The second issue is there are a lot of differences, as I said, between France, European allies, and Chinese. So this visit also gives an opportunity to iron out some of the differences. And beyond that, of course, there is a trade between China and France. There is a trade about $68 billion. China is the seventh largest trading partner of France. So they have also gone on to take the trade relation forward, and number of agreements have been signed to that extent. So, Asuma, what I can say is that this is President Macron's attempt to influence China so that China can influence in turn Russia, especially President Putin, that they should make an earnest effort to end the war. At the same time, as I said, that America and European Union, including France, are not on same page because they are skeptical about the whole proposal, that is 28-point proposal that have been mooted, and they have serious reservations, especially when it entails Ukraine losing territory, when it entails Ukraine's sovereignty being questioned, and also why or how Russia can influence the internal dynamics of Ukraine, whether they have to have elections or re-elections. All that is not where the Europe and France are not on the same page. So I think in a nutshell, President Macron has made this visit, important visit, primarily to get the Chinese also to see the perspectives and see how they can influence President Putin to end the war, at least scale down and go in for some kind of ceasefire. Asuma.
Yes, and Major General, as you rightfully mentioned and also highlighted, that this is the fourth visit, and again, France this time went on its own, which is different from Macron's previous visits, where he was always accompanied by either German chancellors or EU President von der Leyen. So why do you think, what was high in their agenda for France in particular during this visit?
Well, firstly, this is more on the bilateral, dimension, because it is one-on-one how President Xi and President Macron can strike a one-on-one chord. And second point is to clear some of the misunderstandings that are there between the two countries, especially how Europe sees China, how France sees China, how Germany sees China. They have a different perspectives. So this is basically to clear the air and to put the French perspective directly to President Xi Jinping. And I have spent some good deal of time in China as a defense attaché. Now here, even President Xi has gone out of the way because the Chinese leadership do not go beyond Beijing to entertain these state visitors. Here, President Xi has gone all the way to Chengdu, and that is a very exceptional, protocol that he has followed. So this shows that even President Xi is very keen to develop close ties with France and remove some of the irritants that are there between the two countries. So basically, I think this is a very bilateral visit where the two leaders want to clear the air, want to ensure that the irritants are removed, and take the bilateral relationship to the next level, especially when it comes to the trade relations, and also sort out certain degree of geopolitical differences that are there. Because today, frankly speaking, the globe is in real, I would say, in the free fall. And what President Trump is trying to do, G2 with President Xi, Europe not on the same page. So all this, I think, today nations are also dealing bilaterally. And this is a bilateral visit primarily, which gives opportunity to President Macron to directly deal with Xi and iron out any difference or misunderstandings and take the relationship to the next level. Asuma.
Yes. Thank you very much for laying it out there, Major General Gigi Dwivedi. Always a pleasure learning from you. Thank you very much. Now we move on the focus to UK. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has stated that Russian President Vladimir Putin is responsible for the 2018 Novichok attack in Salisbury, UK, citing a recent public inquiry. The inquiry concluded that the poisoning of former Russian double agent Sergei Skripal by GRU operatives was ordered by President Putin, resulting in the death of innocent bystander Don Sturgis. In response, the UK has imposed new sanctions on Russia, including targeting the GRU military intelligence agency. Let's listen into what Keir Starmer has shared.
Lies with Putin, and it's further evidence of the shocking and reckless hostile activity on UK soil. And so it's very important that we put in the most stringent sanctions on the GRU for the first time, but it also reinforces why we need to remain vigilant to the ever-present threat that is there from Putin and from Russia. And this is hostile activity on our soil. We have to be in a position to respond to that. We have responded with sanctions. First time we've done sanctions like this at this scale on the GRU. Right thing to do, and we'll remain ever vigilant.
However, Russia has denied involvement in the attack and dismissed the sanctions, with Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova warning of potential retaliatory measures. Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Shyam Batra. He's a former mayor candidate for London, joins us live from London. Thank you very much, Mr. Batra, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now looking at this, how might this UK's new sanctions, how does this affect already strained UK-Russia relations? And why is UK coming out with such reports now? Could this timing jeopardize the ceasefire talks that's ongoing?
Thank you very much for having me again on NewsX. I'm Shyam Batra, as you said.
Thank you.
I tend to disagree with what the decision has been made. It's been made after 7 years. It could have been dealt with during COVID time or whatever the case may be. But to insinuate that a president of a country would kill 2 people in our country by an order given for Sergei Skripal and his daughter. But the attempt went horribly wrong. Instead of just them, a British mother, Dawn Sturgis, died after coming into contact with the nerve agent. This could have been planted by anybody, anywhere, at any time. I don't understand how the British courts have found it that Mr. Putin is wholly responsible. Is it because he's entangled with the war with Ukraine and it's another excuse to halt the war, or to commence proceedings with the war to come to some kind of peace arrangement? There doesn't seem to be a peace arrangement happening because Putin is never in the picture. And Zelensky and his crew, the whole of the European Union, are involved. It's like too many chefs in the kitchen. There should have been proper dialogue created between Putin and also Zelensky in a table, in a room somewhere, either with Trump or not. But this, I think, is really a sideshow. After several years, they've now come up to the conclusion that Putin is wholly responsible. Where is the evidence and where is the proof? I'm not standing for either side, but the point is I'm standing for the general public of our country. We are yet again embroiled into something that we have no real knowledge of, and I don't think our new Prime Minister has any inkling of what really did happen at that time. This is very serious political stuff. And then to go ahead and sanction when they've already got hold on their money and the war hasn't even concluded. No money should even be touched, let alone anything else, during a war. It doesn't work like this. This is a current war going on. And both parties are not coming to the table because there is far too much interference. This episode is another sideshow for us not to stop the war, but to continue it.
Thank you for sharing your perspective. And Mr. Batra, how could this Russia's denial and warnings of retaliation, what could come out when they say warning of retaliation? And how do you think this is going to be influencing broader European and global security dynamics towards Europe?
Well, I mean, it's a great question you just answered. The thing is this, that the Europeans have entangled themselves into this war. This war is between Russia and Ukraine. It has always been like that. The Novikov incident, as a result, I mean, as a result, the UK government has sanctioned the Russian military intelligence agency. And if they were responsible, I think they would have put their hands up. At the end of the day, they didn't kill millions of people or suspected to kill anyone for that matter. We need to see fresh evidence, fresh proof that this really happened and it was them who did it. How can you prove such a thing sitting in a pub and catching this chemical weapon? It could have been anywhere. Anyone could have planted it. My point is that this, I think, is another sideshow to not to conclude the war. Whilst Russia is proceeding with their troops to capture other regions of Ukraine, there must be sensible, sane dialogue. I have said many times, and I hope that you can translate this to our English government, that I'm happy to help in negotiating this war. I don't think anybody, as prosperous as the US government is, has any tangle on opening this war and closing it. It hasn't been closed. And if we continue after Christmas, God knows what's going to happen. I believe this is a complete sideshow. I don't know why it's come up after several years. They've had so much time to find evidence. Where is the evidence?
Yes. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Shram Batra for joining us today all the way from London and sharing that insight. Thank you very much. Now we move on to Germany. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz's ability to control his unruly coalition faces another test when Parliament votes today on pensions bill that has stirred a revolt by young members of his own Conservative Party. Merz fears the revolt could sink the bill and threaten the coalition's future and have eased after the left party signaled it would abstain. However, the clash has renewed questions over Merz's control of his party and could force him to rely on opposition support to push the package through Parliament. Merz's broad coalition of conservatives and the centre-left Social Democrats has a slender majority of 12 votes in the parliament, enough theoretically to pass this legislation, which maintains current pension levels. And that's a wrap on the NewsX Eurozone. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.
In the midst of this, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists.
Hello and welcome.
In the midst of this, life persists. In the midst of untruth, truth persists.
What we can do as the Interparliamentary Union to strengthen democracy, to promote human rights, to ensure that humanitarian law is respected.
UN Security Council needs a makeover, a comprehensive reform, and India deserves a position there, a role there.
Prime Minister Modi during Operation Sindoor made it amply clear that war has never been India's choice. We are with the side of peace. We are neither neutral nor indifferent. We are with peace.
We would have dealt with US a whole lot on trade and those kinds of things, and that's not as
Hello and welcome to NewsX World. I'm Asima Kataukan. You're watching Hollywood Calling from Celebrity Scoops to Film and Music Buzz. Here's your quick look at what's making headlines in entertainment this week. Zootopia 2 opens with a record $556 million worldwide, including $96 million in North America and $272 million from China alone. Its biggest US animated debut there. Nearly a decade after the original one, the sequel stars Jennifer Goodwin and Jason Bateman. Avatar Fire and Ash, the third installment in James Cameron's franchise, premiered in Los Angeles to rave reviews. Set in a volcanic biome, it introduces the Ash people and explores grief, vengeance, and faith. Fans praised its visuals and emotional depth. Miley Cyrus confirmed her engagement to musician Max Morando after 4 years of being together. The proposal happened during a recent trip to Asia. Cyrus, who was previously married to Liam Hemsworth, praised Morando for his thoughtful gesture. Miss Universe 2025 Fatima Bush has dismissed claims that her win was rigged, denying any influence from her father or secret votes. The Miss Universe organization has also confirmed no external group influenced the results. Now, Life of Pi actor Suraj Sharma is back in India for the premiere of his new film, This Tempting Madness. The film is a psychological thriller inspired by true events. The story follows Mia, played by Simone Ashley, who awakens from a coma after a near-fatal fall. Gravely injured and unable to fully recall her past, she learns that her husband is missing. As her fractured memories resurface, Mia becomes confused and overwhelmed by a surge of emotions. In an exclusive interview with NewsX senior editor Uday Pratap Singh, Sharma talks about his experience signing the film and being back in Goa, India for the film's premiere at the International Film Festival of India. Let's cut across.
Hello and welcome. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us on this special interview on NewsX and NewsX World. We are in conversation today with a well-known actor who's, of course, not just wowing us in India, but across the world, in Hollywood too. I'm talking about Surat Sharma. Welcome, Surat. Thanks for being with us today on NewsX and NewsX World.
Thank you so much for having me, Uday.
Great to have you back in India, and of course with a special film. So let's just talk first about this Tempting Madness. I saw, of course, the kind of great response you got in Goa. Having the premiere at IFFI, how was the response to your screening there, and what was the experience like being back in Goa in India?
Man, being back in Goa is fantastic. You know, every time I come here, obviously, it's just lovely. I haven't been back in India for about 2 years. I've been shooting over there, so this has been lovely for more than just the movie. You know, it's been lovely for me personally. Um, Tempting Madness is it's a psychological thriller, and it's about this woman who loses her memory and has to realize or find who she is once again. Obviously, both parties have their interests in this loss of memory, so it explores like mental illness and abuse and love and the perseverance of it through it out. So it was intense, man. The shoot was intense. Watching the movie was intense. People's reaction was like really interesting, especially people who've been through stuff like this. And that, by the way, is, you know, I read the stats and stuff, man. 36% of Indian women are going through something like this. So, you know, like even if you're not directly involved or something like that, there's a lot of people who get, you know, who are privy to this world. So it affects people, you know, and it was a privilege to work on such a thing, man.
Yes. What was the kind of response you got from the people who watched it? You know, obviously, for an actor, for the filmmaker who was also there, Jennifer, I'm sure you must have been gauging the kind of response from the people in the theater. What was that, and what did people say to you, and what stood out for you?
Well, what stood out, Uday, is that the reactions were very diverse, man. Like, you know, sometimes you tell a story and then people have to sit with it and think about it. And a lot of people came and they were very congratulatory, but then a lot of people were like, they couldn't speak. And I think that that's exactly what we wanted. You know, you're in the mind of a person who's trying to find their mind, and just having them think about it and then slowly come into conversation about it was exactly what we were hoping for. So good, man.
Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes silence says more than words, doesn't it? But you know, talking about the movie before we talk about your experience in Goa, you know, it's inspired from real events. Is that correct? How did the story come to you, and you know, what did you first think about the script, and what was the kind of brief given to you by the director Jennifer Montgomery?
Well, essentially, dude, I got the script, I read it, and it was already a page turner. The twists in it are quite intense. So I already liked the script before I knew it was based on it was inspired on a true story. So that made it all the more like, wow, this really happens. You know, making up a story is a very interesting and great thing, but sometimes when you just are that much closer to reality, it just strikes you as more important in a way, you know. And then working, of course, with Simone Ashley, who's doing such a good job with Bridgerton and all these things, I was like, of course, I want to be a part of this. You know, it's rare on the outside to be in a film or a TV show where there's more than one, you know, Indian person involved in this thing. So it's a freeing feeling. You learn about the landscape out there, and I had a great time. Plus, Simone Ashley is a lovely human being, so not just a lovely actor. And it was great, man. It was great.
Okay. Coming back to Goa now, you know, how was that for you? Life has come full circle. You started out in Goa with your first film, of course, Life of Pi, being premiered there at IFFI. Now coming back, you know, about over a decade after your career has, you know, really taken off in the West and of course in India too. How does that feel to be back? And did the memories, the flashback happen of when you first came there?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's really beautiful, but like in a special, in a unique way, man. I've been on my own journey in life and learning my own things and trying my best, like over there, to learn how do I be a better actor? How do I understand why and what stories need to be told, you know? So coming back to Goa has been beautiful. Like the movie is about the cyclical nature of life, you know? when you're learning things, you keep coming back to it and grow and grow and grow. So in a funny way, like it matched exactly where I am right now. I'm trying to figure out how to help the bridge that's being created, at least in the cinema world, between India and the global audience, and what they want. How do you understand it? And is there space for real Indian stories for the global audience at a large scale? Um, and that's what I'm trying to embark upon now, man. So it's good to come back to shore and see where we are. It's been beautiful.
True. But, do you still look back and feel that it's like a dream? How Life of Pi happened for